once again, welcome everyone. It is great to have you here. We still have some more seats over in the side here. Come join us, that's great. I'm looking forward to tonight, as I have been each of our evenings thus far. And all kinds of thoughts go through my mind when we talk about the question and the issue around how we understand each other as different peoples, races, and the implications of how that plays out in our world. And in the subplot or the subtitle to this, it was the way I was kind of articulating it is often this is an area that many of us don't really want to talk about. And so we're going to talk together tonight and hopefully have a very open and candid conversation. Let's pray together. Lord Jesus, that would be our prayer, that you would open our eyes, that you would give us your eyes to see all those around us in the way that you see them. So as we explore this topic tonight, would you be present by your Spirit? Looking forward to the conversation. We give you ourselves for these moments. And I pray that our hearts could be attuned and attentive to what you have for us. I pray. Amen. Amen. I'm going to turn it to Emmanuel Denguessi. He's going to set up what he's hoping to do with us here. His one sidekick hasn't arrived yet, but I'm sure he will. And I believe that Sharon will also be participating in this evening, and we're all going to have opportunity to do lots of talking together. So welcome, Emmanuel. I'll turn this thing around here for you, and go for it.
Good evening. Can you hear me very well?
Yes.
Can you also hear the French accent?
Yeah.
As Ed said, my name is Emmanuel Denguessi. I've been attending this church since 2009. I am a graduate of Columbia Bible College and Trinity Western University. And I am married with Cheny Denguessi, which cannot be here today because we have a 12 and an 8-year-old and somebody needs to be at home with them. Speaking about Cheny, which is somebody who ancestry come from Greece, and a mother who was born in Nova Scotia. I think I'm going to start by, before giving kind of the menu of tonight, share a story about Cheny and I becoming married, which involved certain people here in the room. So in 2010, so I fell in love with that girl, Cheny, and in my mind I need to marry her, but I need to do the proposal. And I was in the first year of study at Columbia Bible College, and I was doing the caregiving and counseling program. So I don't know, perhaps all the men can relate to me. The process of thinking about doing a proposal, it is hard. Like, at least for me, it was hard. Where is the place? How I'm going to do it? If she like it, and so on. So fortunately, during that period, there was I was in an intro to counseling class, and there was a very fine young adult lady who were my counseling partner, and she was tremendous in allowing me to figure out how to do X, Y, Z by asking me questions. And the outcome of that is I went to Paris, I proposed, and even the picture make a presentation during my affective relationship class at Columbia Bible College while I was in Paris. 20 years or more, or 15 years or more, I'm sitting with somebody called Ed Williams. speak about Columbia Bible College and so on and so forth. Do you know so and so? I said, yeah, she was my teacher counselor. She is the reason why I have made a great choice to this day. And he said, it's my daughter. So I just want to say, Karen and Ed, you have done well. So you are a part of why I have a solid marriage. Who knows? So
That's great.
I know also something I learned from school is that some community setups sometimes are set for introverts. So in the spirit of inclusion, I want to invite those of us who may not feel comfortable to ask a question publicly or perhaps with the time to have an opportunity to ask a question, even if you want to do that anonymous. So if that's you and if you have a phone who has an internet connection, you can scan this code. You can do, or you do menti.com and you'll be asked to enter this code. I will display that, or if you have a picture, a camera, you can just scan the picture and so on. And you can tap your question there. At some moment, I'm going to go back to that and answer. It will be anonymous. I'm not going to know who is asking the question. So I just wanted to mention that. So, racism. I first of all want to thank the leadership of the church because they allow us to learn how to discuss those difficult topics. And I also want to preface that the story that you're going to hear or the facts that may be communicated are subjective and they are people experience. So it might not encompass the full knowledge of what racism is, but it's the lived experience of people. So tonight, our time together, we going to introduce the topic by speaking about prejudice and racism. I'm going to introduce a speaker. Then we wanted this time together to not just be about us, but a collective learning. We're going to involve ourselves into an exercise called liberating structure, where in your table or among yourself, you're going to answer or discuss about those questions. What have you heard? What was challenging? What was encouraging? So what? What does it mean to you, to others? And now what? Would or could you do possibly? Would or could you possibly do about it? So those are the questions after the sharing that I will invite you to discuss among yourself. And you can select somebody in your table to share the collective wisdom you came with. Then we will open the ground now for questions. Then at the end, Sharon is going to come and wrap up our night. So I think for us it was important to make the distinction between racial prejudice and race versus racism. So from a blog called culturally.com, they define racial prejudice as feeling of belief about someone based on stereotype, assumption, or ignorance. It can be conscious or unconscious and often comes with no supporting factual or rational evidence. Grew up in Cameroon. When I was 9, a movie came out White Do Not Know How to Jump. Was the title of the movie. So, white can jump. So, I grew up with that stereotype. Okay? So, find myself, I can jump than any people from a Caucasian background. That's what we register. So that would be a racial prejudice. Racism is when member of a particular group experience negative reaction and impact, both on a structural and systemic level. Racism is often embedded in law, policy, and everyday practice that cause disadvantage. So racism, we become racist when we act on our prejudice, when we use that power, when we use our power, that's where we cross the line. So imagine that because of that stereotype, I am a basketball coach and no Caucasian in my team because they don't know how to jump. So that's where I enter racism. So it is important because a lot of us are into the prejudice, as I share here. Crossing that line sometimes is blurry because it might be overt or covered or even by omission because we don't know. So with that in mind, we're going to enter our story sharing time. John Cheny, there is a mistake here. The E shouldn't be here. There should be Y. So only Y.
Cheny?
Yeah, Cheny. And Emmanuel would be sharing our experience of racial stereotype and racism. So, without further ado, John, I will call you to enlighten us.
How long do I have?
However you want.
Okay, so my name is John Cheny, and I was actually asking the question, how long do I have? Because when the three of us spoke, I said I don't have much to say, but I know myself that I have a tendency of going a little bit extra, so keep me in line, please. I'll actually start with my name. So my name is John Cheny, and most of you or some of you call me John, some call me Cheny. I sometimes introduce myself as Cheny, and sometimes I introduce myself as John. It's confusing for you, it is confusing for me as well. My dad called me John, and when I was baptized I was called John. And then at some point, this transitioning to being called Cheny came about, and I'm have a guess. It was around high school. When I was in high school, I introduced myself as John Cheny, and Cheny as a name, it's actually supposed to be spelled with an I, not Y. That's another story altogether. But one of the students in my high school made the connection that because it's a unique name, it wasn't a common name, it was the era of Dick Cheney. And then he started calling me Cheny, and the Cheny kind of, anyway, my older brother has the same thing. His name is William, and goes by Cheny as well. So there you are. So don't feel bad or anything. Any of them goes, okay? So I am a little bit oblivious when it comes to racism, I would say. And either maybe subconsciously I'm in denial, I'll say, because there are a lot of things that I miss. And like me, married to a Caucasian wife, they have pointed these things out to me that, what do you mean you didn't realize that was going on? Okay. So some of the experiences, just to touch on a few, I toured in a ministry in the US first of all in East Africa and then in the US. And I remember in the US, when I was in, I think it was Virginia, I stayed with a host family, and there was 3 of us in the team, 2 ladies and myself. The 2 ladies, they were all Caucasian, left with the host, and the family we were staying with was Caucasian. They left with the mom of the house going shopping, and I was left with the dad, host. And so in the living room, we were new. This is like our first time meeting this family. He went to the refrigerator in the kitchen and said, "Do you see what I have here?" And he pulled out, I would say about that size of a pistol gun.
Whoa.
Okay, I'm saying about that size because it's a size that could fit in someone's purse. Okay. And then he says to me, "I have one like this in the bedroom for my wife to use just in case," right? And then he showed me his collection of guns that he had. Now keep in mind, it's in the US, right? So a gun that he showed me, he explained all this thing, that this thing is actually, he got it in the black market. It releases or shoots at so many per second, right? And he was very proud of it, and I was fresh from Kenya also. I was wowed by this, gun. He showed me this gun. He put it back. He showed me. I didn't think of anything. I was just going through an experience and experienced that as just that. I was telling my wife, well, I don't know, we were married at the time. Maybe it was my fiancée. I was telling her about that, and she says, "What? Do you realize that he was kind of giving you a warning?" I did not think of it that way. I was just wowed by, what do you mean? Just the fridge here? You have one in the bedroom? Anyway. So a lot of the things that and like I said, it's just not being able to see it the same way maybe. I was wearing a blue jacket. I was in Florida. And I was in this particular area. I was told, "You can't wear that." And then they told me that's the color of, and being of your color, that's dangerous for you, right? So I didn't wear that jacket. I don't know what happened to it. So when we are together as a family, so I have 4 kids, and when we are together as a family, we don't get the same questions that my wife Elaine gets. For one reason or that, or when I'm with the kids, I don't get the same questions or maybe even the same look, right? So Elaine has a whole story that she can tell you of her experiences just because of, that's this experience here. If I go back to Kenya, actually over there I get a different story as well. Because when we're together with Elaine, I'm being considered either beach boy or some other words that they're gonna call me. Because again, in that context, why would you be with someone of a different color, so to speak, right? One interesting experience that I got that I felt this is kind of the profiling that was happening is I went to see her. So my parents-in-law were in Montreal, or lived in Montreal, now they're here, and they had sent us a toaster catalog. Those of you who remember Sears, right? So I went to Sears at 7 Oaks Mall. Now, if you remember, the catalog section was upstairs in a corner somewhere. So I went there, picked it up. I didn't know this, but apparently it's supposed to be, any item you pick up is supposed to be in a Sears bag, okay? Well, I went to pick it up and whoever gave it to me it's a box, said here's the box. So I carried the box and I take my time sometimes wandering, window shopping. So I walked around Sears, just looking around. I'm like, I'm not in a hurry. And then suddenly I, kind of sensed that someone is following me. So I just kept walking, and then I'm like, they are following me. Let's make sure they are following me. So then I wandered to another corner, and then I'm like, definitely they're following me. Okay, so I walked out of the store. I'm carrying this box, and from the one end, Sears was on the eastern side, and the Bay is on the other side of the mall. So I walked, took a few detours, and I could see that they're following me. And at one point I turned around and this person ducked. And I'm like, this is like, okay, so let's just make sure they're following me. So I went around to the Bay.
Yeah.
I walked around the Bay, and so my expectation was, by the time I walk out, there's going to be police cars. That was the first time that I felt like, okay, this is profiling somehow. And I was like, you know what, I'm ready for that police car. So I walked out through Bay's window on the southern side. They still were following me. I entered through there's a cafe place there, and they were following me. And that's when I started to kind of, anxiety, and my body was, I guess, it was steaming. I turned around, kind of confronted them that, are you following me? I don't know what, that's a ridiculous question. But anyway, they said, no, I'm not. So I said, yes, you are. So I went back to Sears to try to see, is anyone I can talk to there? So I went there, and so by that time he had kind of said no, but he kept coming with me until I got into Sears, and then he realized I'm kind of looking where the camera. I was looking for where the cameras are for Sears, because if they're there, they must have been looking on the camera to see who is this guy and all that. Anyway, I was asking for that. I went there. I was too worked up, and I left it there. Came home, told my parents that I got the toaster, but this is what happened. I was done with it. My father-in-law was not having none of that. So anyway,
You left the toaster there?
no.
Okay.
I don't know. I got the toaster out. So I guess when my father-in-law phoned, I tried to find out what had happened, and that's kind of one of the things that was explained to them, right? But I'm thinking it's a very simple thing.
Yeah.
Just come and ask.
Yeah, right.
To your whole, and it's a big box. Anyway. So when we go to Abbotsford, and this is again, it's the line of, are people genuinely trying to ask a question to try to get to know you, or what is this, right? And rarely do I get that now. Well, I do get it. It's just we've moved on some of these things, right? The question of where you are from, right? It's a good question, right? But when you hear it several times, sometimes you just tend to wonder, like, what exactly is it? What is it about, right? I had a little kid that asked me one time, say, why are you so black? And I said, well, I was born at night. And when the sun came out, I forgot that the sun had come out. This is the color. So I make light of some of these things because I'm 100% sure that that kid is not doing anything other than just making conversation, or just trying to ask, right? I have no problem for someone to come and touch my skin, if it's a kid. Because genuinely, I know from Africa, that's kind of what some of the kids there would do. They would follow, if you went there, they would follow you around, trying to figure out, are you for real? Kind of thing, right? So, there has been racism comments that have been made when we got here early on. I was walking at a park and someone called the N-word. Someone did tell us, because I was with Alain again, we were just walking at Fish Trap, I think, and they said, "You're going to hell." Someone has spit. Someone, again, these things, like I said, I miss them for some of these things, right? But my wife is able to kind of see them, right? So, I think that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to start by saying that I am the son of a tribal chief who ended up being sent to Germany to study, and he came back with a Western mindset. And he told all of us, people around, that his kid won't learn the tribal language. So we learned French. So when we go back to the village, my cousin and so were calling us white people. So I grew up with a sentiment of being marginalized even from Africa, from my own. So I have developed a sensitivity to that, and I have made a decision that it is not going to be a barrier to my ascension. So I say that because, as John said, there are things that I have perhaps denied or refused to see because I didn't want that to stop me. And when I was approached to give to an opportunity to speak about racism, it was hard because I have made a pledge to my life that I am going to create my path, and I'm not going to turn left or right to see if somebody will be racist to me. I don't know if that was good or that was bad, but this exercise allowed me to reflect. So I had the opportunity here to serve as a group who work on the land acknowledgement. And we did a tremendous job in order to include everyone into the conversation. But that came also with its issues, to the point that at some point I decided to sit and write about my experience being member of this church. And you can have the time after to read, but if you at some point I speak about race, my experience as a racial minority in this congregation who love me and love my kids. But I can see somebody having a great conversation with my wife, slamming and laughing. When I come, the person cannot sustain an eye contact. You know what they deprive me? They deprive me from relationship. They use their power of connectivity to deprive me of relationship. And that is racism. If we go per the definition. And it might be that the person has a reason. They may not be comfortable with somebody from another race. And what do? They use the power of engagement that they have to choose otherwise. And if we are faithful to that definition, it is an act of racism. And I have experienced that countless in the church. Words such as, why are you involved in an issue that is outside of your ethnicity? Yeah. And by curiosity, the person came and genuinely asked the question. They wanted to know. They wanted to understand why there is such like an excitement or a devotion into the issues. And they were genuine. But from our perspective, it brought out a lot of questions. A lot of questions. Am I fully accepted? Am I viewed as the outsider? And so on and so forth. And I just wanted to encourage ourselves as every single place and spaces we are as member or as a majority, look for the list of those. Extend that halo. Sustain a 1 minute conversation. Inquire about the well-being. It goes a long way. It will make somebody who feel that is marginalized because of his race feel accepted. I am thankful, as you will read, to the countless of people in this congregation who have shared a meal in their house, who went to a bike ride with me, who have come and support me when I was coaching volleyball. Those are the reasons why I am here still. So I will leave that there. I think we have a lot of content to now send you to discuss. So what I want you to do, I don't know if there's many pencil in each of the table.
No, I would like
So I want us to reflect a little bit. And even if you have one that you can designate in your table and speak about yourself. What did you hear? What was challenging? And you don't have to go through all the questions, you can choose. What did you hear? What was challenging? What was encouraging to you? Then when you answer, I come back deeper. So what does it mean to you or to other people? Then another layer deeper would be, now that you are that understanding, what could you possibly do about it? So if we can take 10 minutes, then we doing that exercise and afford another 5 minutes for the sharing and open to the question and having Sharon come and close by at around 8:20. That would be wonderful. Is that something we can do?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I just wanted to open, having kind of an open response to the discussion and how far you went. So without any order, if a table wants, let's take the next 5 to 6 minutes to be able to just respond to the conversation in whatever you have noted of if there is an insight that came out from your conversation. So if there is a table that want to start, please do so. I will bring the mic to you. Yes.
We answered 3 questions. Ooh, that's all of them. Challenging is being attentive to racism, like pay attention, it's there. Challenging also, or a sad thing about racism, is that we miss out on relationships when we don't both invest. Encouraging, honestly, kind of thought it was a bit of a relief that you don't always notice when people are racist, because maybe you get hurt less than you would otherwise, but it's still very sad. And becoming comfortable with people who are different than us being curious. Okay, what can we possibly do about it? Call racism out. Like when you hear it in conversations, you're part of a group, then just like, that's not funny. That's not true. Be curious, be open-minded, and note cultural differences. And start to believe that, or continue to believe that different is not bad. It's interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We noted some stories of where we had been in minority, which are very few, and how that was felt, and that helps to understand that some people may feel like that all the time, being in minority. And one important thing too is the what is called white privilege. Is we can walk into a store without being profiled and don't have to think about it. I heard once the greatest privilege of being white is not having to think about it. So we don't even think about it.
Yeah.
One other insight that I had today is I think this might be the first time, and you've been here a long time, both of you, that we have heard you talk about being black in a white world. Even though we have attempted to include you and accept you and elected you as chair of our congregation and you're a worship leader, we haven't heard you talk about this. And so that's been very good for me to hear that.
Thank you. And you was my professor. I'm doing well. Columbia Bible College. Thank you, Gary.
We talked a little bit about insider-outsider dynamics, and with the story you told about the sports teams, the insider-outsider dynamics seem to be very, very obvious. But I think, from my experience in living in non-Western cultures, that I would always felt as if I was an outsider. I never felt as if I was an insider, no matter how well I spoke the language, how well I adapted culturally, but I was still the outsider, and I had to accept that for myself. But it sure felt good when I was home and I didn't have to think about being an outsider. But it's a dynamic. But I think some congregations and so on, I don't know if they've overcome that, but it'll be interesting to know how people, if there is still that inkling of outsider, and I think that's where that is probably a goal for us to be able to not to be outsider, and not that the people that we relate to or feel like outsiders. And another one, just briefly, we talked about unconscious and conscious prejudice and racism. The one that is subtle, the unconscious one that generates a quick reaction when we don't expect.
Good stuff. Wow. You guys could have a conversation with Plato and Aristotle. You will deep thoughts. All right. Are there questions you want to ask? Are there questions you would like us to, you have something in your mind?
I think it's sometimes difficult to, when someone calls out racism, I'm going to use a political situation, and right now, like with Israel, when people are not for what the government of Israel is doing, and they call them out, and yet it's called racism. And then here in North America, it's taken out on people, like somehow there's that when a country, like for example, Israel, a lot of people don't like what they're doing. So there is racism, and it's happening here, and it's horrible things are happening. But the country itself, like the leader is calling it racist, where it isn't, when it isn't really, it's about what is being done as a nation, not as a person.
Yeah, I think that's a difficult, that dissociation between what a group does versus what the individual do. Now, if you grew up in community-oriented countries, the group represents the individual. If you grow up in individualistic place of the world, the individual account for the action. So those dynamics need to be taken in consideration as we reflect there.
I just had a question, kind of the background. The comment was made at our table just near the end there that often it takes generations to kind of morph from a racial orientation to a healthy inclusion. I often have noticed the difference between Abbotsford and downtown Vancouver, and we've often sat there in English Bay in the evening. You just see the mixture of couples and boyfriends and girlfriends, and it's just there's a much greater inclusion in that community. But generally speaking, yeah, okay. So I'm getting my question. Sorry. How do we be gracious with one another on the journey? Because if we're calling each other out and beating each other up, then we're sometimes hurting each other and offending each other, and that's not necessarily healthy either.
Somebody want to take? That's a good one. Because I'm not believing that shaming people is a solution. And I think that's sometimes a mistake that we're making. Learning how to see, having those conversations, being able to disagree without being disagreeable, being curious, and it come to God, who God for us who believe, who God is for us, because I think the discrimination here we speak about racial, but we can speak about otherism, which the source is what is power. How can I control? How can I influence? How can I dominate? Now we are speaking about race, but you can extend that to sexism and all the otherism. So the question is, how do we navigate that? And perhaps it's looking at story of success. At some point in the paper, I speak about, 15 years ago, on the other side of the border, it was illegal for my wife and I to be married or to attend the church.
That's not very long ago.
Yeah, there are recent movie that spoke about it. Now, it is also comforting to see how far we have gone. And educate, expose, and but it is, I think you have a good point there. Shaming is not, for me, it's not the answer. Education, exposure.
Yeah, I didn't mean shaming, that's for sure. But I just wanted to say 3 sentences that we've learned in communicating. One is, tell me more. And then, I see this differently. May I share some of my thoughts? And then instead of, punching, you're listening, you've listened. Tell me more about that, or, yeah.
One last question.
talk about young generation anyway.
Okay.
For example, my daughter Carmilla, she's very smart. Wherever she went, she can adjust it himself. Even work. When she was in MEI, we always have meeting between parents and teacher.
Yeah.
The only thing I asked the teacher, how is my daughter? Don't worry, Elsiana. She took a piece of paper, look at this. Your daughter work very good. When she went to Japan, because between MEI and Japan they have collaboration, you know what, school. She's the only one by herself to apply for. And then she went to Abara, Japan. She lives with principal. He welcomed Mila to stay. And then went to school. And then I told Mila, it's better your teacher will come to Abbotsford. Yes, we come to Abbotsford, we to see MEI, and we welcome meal at my house. Then she come back. How appreciated, you know, the Japanese people and the teacher toward my daughter. And then she come back again, grade 12. She applied for, you know, university. She accepted 3 university. UBC, Calgary, the other one, you pick. She choose you pick, not many Asian. It's all white, most of them. She was happy there. Make a friends again. And then after, what is it, man? BA, she went again with 300 Canadian to Japan as exchange, you know, teacher. And I visit again and I introduced myself to the teacher and I asked, how is Mila? She was very good. We love her. So whatever, I don't know. Mila is easy person, humble, easy to talk. Even at the job too. She got a good job. I remember when she worked, you know, with organization. The director, I think, organization director said, she came to me, I love your daughter. You know.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah.
Just add one little thing though. As adaptable as she was, she always felt that in MEI that she was outside the bubble. And she was there for what, 4 or 5 years. And she never felt as if she had been integrated. And it was very, very painful for her.
Thank you. Thank you very much for those comments. Now we reserve the last for the best. So I will call Sharon to come and wrap this topic. Thank you, Sharon.
That's a heavy order. Thank you so much, Cheny and Emmanuel, for what you've shared with us tonight. I appreciate that. This is it's a topic that we need to talk more about, as Gareth has pointed out. I think it's a topic that deserves much thought, prayer, curious questions, relationship. How do we get to know each other better? How do we get to understand each other better? How do we interact in a way that is meaningful and inclusive and not just physically part of, but how do people belong and be part of this group? Emmanuel, what does that look like? It's one thing to be there physically, and as we've heard from Alan, 4 years, but still not feeling like you belong. So what's the difference there? What does that feel like? What does that look like? How do we, as children of God, love our brothers and sisters from every culture and every nationality and of every kind? And so when we think about that, I appreciate, the comments that well, it's good that maybe Cheny and Emmanuel didn't recognize that as racism, but as the wife of a black man, I pick up on it, and that hurts me.
Yep.
So, you know, it's not okay to just be oblivious. We need to, it behooves us to ask the questions, to reach out as the majority, to include and invite and be a friend and a brother and a sister. So how do we look for those commonalities, but how do we appreciate the differences as well? Because they're there.
Yeah.
And there's beauty in difference. And there's grace in seeking to understand and being there for each other. So thank you for sharing. This is an area where we can learn and learn and learn and grow. And so it's an opportunity for all of us, really. And so this opens that lens a little bit more and invites us to stick our toes in a little further. So thank you again for the grace. Thank you that you're still here. It's wonderful that you're still part of us. And we bless you and we thank you. Thanks for all you contribute to our community here. It is appreciated. So let's close in prayer. Unless, Ed, are you wanting to say something?
One more comment when you're done.
Okay. Dear God, we just thank you that we are all your children. We are well loved. We are well cared for. We are sisters and brothers, no matter who we are or where we're from. And so, Lord, we ask with sincerity that we will be able to see a little more, hear a little more, and love a little more, and be there for each other. So God, we thank you for this time together. Thank you for what we've heard tonight, and may we do something about it. Bless us with grace and with love for each other. Thank you for this time together. Amen.
Thank you, Emmanuel, for putting this together. My one comment from the position of privilege that I do stand in is you've been far too gracious. And I know we have to take baby steps, and I know it's not about shaming, but I do feel this deeper sense that we have to work more diligently. And it behooves those who, and Elsiana was making a valid comment, like if you're in Indonesia and you are the dominant culture, it's a completely different world for people who are in Indonesia, or pick a country. But in North America, in Canada in particular, right now, as the dominant culture, it really does rest with us to figure this out more than it does for those who have come into our context. Well, and we're guests in this context too, like we have to keep thinking broader. So just to that end, I wanted to highlight just a couple things that I've been reading lately, just for you to also, some of you may be reading some of the same kind of stuff, but I think there's some really helpful stuff out there these days. There's podcasts, and with people that will push you harder than our dear friends tonight, but it's been very, very good. I don't know if any of you have heard of Christian Dumais, historian, this book called Jesus and John Wayne. It will mess with your thinking on not just race issues, but on many different issues of how we understand our Christian faith today. And she's got a brand new book coming out in September. She's also part of a group called the Convocation Unscripted, who is a podcast I would also highly recommend. It's American, but they're really wrestling with sort of some of the new Christian nationalism that's arising, white nationalism, I should say, specifically in the States. One of the guys that's part of that, his name is Robbie Jones, out of Washington, D.C., a white guy, grew up in Mississippi, went to Southern Baptist Seminary, and has had a complete shift in his thinking. And he's written a pretty provocative book called White Too Long. It's very engaging, and I would highly recommend it. He also has a new book that has just come out.
You're so cool.
If you want to go even deeper, Anthea Butler, also a historian. She is a black woman, and she does not pull punches. I mean, she lets you have it solid. This is White Evangelical Racism, the Politics of Morality in America. Again, these are from American perspective, but from a Canadian, it's so much the same.
She's a little more gentle.
Dear white peacemakers, yep. So there's some other ones, and then there's another gentleman. This is a black historian, Jamar Tisby.
I love that guy.
He is quite interesting as well. The Color of Compromise. Fascinating.
Well,
And he's
he's-
got multiple books out.
And he's on that same
He's on the
podcast.
Convocation podcast as well. And then this was just mentioned, this is not a Christian guy, I don't think. Desmond Cole, it's out of Toronto. It's called The Skin We're In. And this is a guy that wrote a book when we were living in Ontario. The whole thing of carding was a really big deal. I mean, it still is a big deal, but it was really became a public thing. And so he wrote about his experience as a black man in Toronto, being pulled over all the time for all kinds of ridiculous reasons. Prove why you're here, prove who you are, etc., kind of thing. Stuff that, you know, I just haven't experienced in my life. Okay, I think that's all that I wanted to highlight. Do you want one other book?
Well, there's one other book.
White
Sharon.
Fragility?
Yeah. Why is it so hard for white people to talk about racism?
Right.
So that's Robin DeAngelo.
Yeah, there are a lot of good resources. And so as we're wrestling with trying to be more inclusive, trying to be more understanding, trying to have good glasses on to see better, there are lots of good resources, and we need to keep working at it. So thanks again, really appreciate it. Let's maybe just give them a big thanks. Thanks, Sharon. Thanks, Cheny.